and welcome to video 2 for tonight's lesson on 10.2 product of powers. And we have our second one. We're going to talk about power of a power property. And of course, I've expected you to write this down prior to viewing these notes, because that way it will be in your head so that we can reinforce it when we talk about it here together. So from the key idea at the top of page 418 for you general students and 718 for the accelerated students, ladies and gentlemen, the power of a power property states what? It states that to find the power of a power, multiply the exponents. So we're going to multiply the exponents. So in this particular case from the book, the example was 4 to the 6 times 3, 4 to the 6 raised to the power of 3, which is 4 to the 6 times 3, which equals 4 to the 18. Let's talk about why that is true. So what you're saying is, I have a base. This base is actually a power in of itself as 4 to the 6, and I'm going to do it 3 times. So what I'm saying is I have 4 to the 6 times 4 to the 6 times 4 to the 6. And when we multiply, we just learned this, when we multiply with a common base, what do we do with the exponents? We add them up. So this can be written as 4 to the 6 plus 6 plus 6, which equals 4 to the 18. We could further break that down and put 6 4s on each one of these and count them all up, and what would we get? We would get 18 of them. Alrighty? Of course, algebraically, a to the m raised to the n power, multiplying those exponents, a to the m times n. So let's do a few. The first one, number 7, 5 squared raised to the power of 3. Okay, so that becomes 5 to the 2 times 3, which equals 5 to the 6th. Pretty straightforward. When you take a power and you raise it to another power, you are then multiplying the exponents. In the example number 8, y to the 4th raised to the 6th, that would be y to the 4 times 6, which equals y to the 24. Pretty straightforward. Ladies and gentlemen, please make sure, if you haven't already, that you go back to your notes and you take notes on, from page 418 and 718, on the power of a product property. If you haven't done that, pause the video, go do that, and then come back and join us. Alrighty, so the power of a product property, what does that say? It says find the power, to find the power of a product, find the power of each factor, and then multiply. I think that's pretty ambiguous. I like to look at it as finding the power to a power, or using distributive property. But you'll see it looks pretty similar to power of a power, because here we have a product. Inside the parentheses we have a product, 3 times 2. And they're saying that that's actually 3 to the 1st times 2 to the 1st. Those are not common bases, so we cannot put them together. But we're raising those to another power. So a power to a power would say 3 to the 1 times 5 times 2 to the 1 times 5, which would give us 3 to the 5, 2 to the 5, right? Or you could call it distributing and multiplying by each of the powers. So we're multiplying, we're finding that power, and then we're going to multiply. Okay? Now in this particular case, we left it as exponents, but really, in the future, we're actually going to evaluate that out. Algebraically, a times b raised to the power of m would be a to the m, b to the m. Pretty straightforward. Let's just do a couple examples. I'm only going to do a few, because we're going to do a lot more in class. You got your quick writes, and we're going to talk about it, and then we're going to practice. So on number 9, 4x all raised to the power of 2. So you can look at it as a power of a power. You can look at it as 4 to the 1 times 2, multiplied by x to the 1 times 2. Or you can distribute to the powers, to the exponents. Anyway, 4 to the 1 times 2 becomes 4 squared. X to the 1 times 2 becomes x squared. And I told you that in the future, on the last slide, that we're actually going to evaluate this out. So our final answer is 16x squared, because 4 squared is 16. In number 10, x squared y all raised to the 3rd power. So once again, if we have powers within our product, it's okay. Again, that's another reason why I said power to a power. So this would be x to the 2 times 3, y to the 1 times 3. And when we do that, with those parentheses, we would have a final answer of x to the 6th, y to the 3rd. And that's how we do it. I hope it's clear as mud. No, actually, I hope it's a lot clearer than mud. But of course, if you have any questions at all, you're going to come to class and ask them. Our quick right number 2, we're going to take B and do a power to a power, d squared raised to the 8th. And in C, we're going to do the product of a power, and we're going to go 3xy all raised to the 2nd power. Do not forget to actually multiply and evaluate any numerical powers that you get. And of course, ladies and gentlemen, if you have any questions, write them down. Write them down. Write them down so you can come to class. Take a quick look at your notes. Did you complete them with quality? Do you need to rewatch anything for greater understanding? Remember, attitude and effort is everything. How are you developing your character and your intelligence? As always, ladies and gentlemen, any time I spend with you is a blessing. I am so thankful and grateful that I have this opportunity to be with you, and I can't wait to see you in class tomorrow to go over this some more.